this idea because a lot of times when we're just hanging out and talking, you're drawing something on your iPad.
Yeah, I thought about that too.
And then at some point in post, you can cut to it somehow or insert a recording of what you're drawing. Oh, I want to make a rosary. I know, this is perfect. Do you have any twine in here? I totally forgot that's the new thing. Can't even believe I caught that. Okay, we're going with the wine color. I actually have caught up on all the rosaries that I was making for students. So I'm not currently making, maybe maybe that's done. I don't know. We'll see. I don't want to force it. If kids want one, they can have one. Get that over here. But man, I haven't made a full one in so long. It's good to just keep it going. Keep it going.
Oh.
What? So you're not gonna let the cats in?
Oh, if they come up, I'll let them in.
Oh, okay.
I'm not overly concerned about them right now.
Okay. Well, honey, I love what you've done with the place.
I've destroyed my office and studio to get us to just sit down and do something different.
I mean, part of it is, and I'm really grateful that you sort of went there on the way home from Mass today, that you shared some of your new ideas with me, because I know how you are so aware that you have an idea, you think this is it, this is how we're going to do it.
No, I never think it's good. This is it. This is how we're going to do it. It's like I keep coming up with ideas, and then I'm like, I hope that's it. I hope this will do it. But I haven't. Even this, right? Mm-hmm. I hope this is it. I hope this will work.
Well, we're definitely going to try it out. Now, I do have a question about the camera that's ahead of me.
Yeah.
I saw a red light before. I don't see one now. Is that normal?
Yeah. Because
Okay.
because this doohickey over here, the screen.
Oh, it's showing you all the cameras?
Yeah, and
cool.
so the one that if I at the beginning when you were talking, I had your focused over there. So like I
Okay.
can, if I were to, so people could see what we're looking at. I'll do a quick movie and I'll try to add it in. So like
That's our...
there's you right now, and that's the screen over there that shows all the stuff. So that's my desk where I typically work, and that's where we normally do the show. Over there, but we're wanting to do something different, and so I guess today at Mass, going along with our discussion of discerning from the last episode, we said that we were going to do an episode on discerning, and we recorded a show last week about discerning, but neither one of us were really happy with it. It was decent, but it was like we're trying to shovel a bunch of stuff in and make changes and that kind of thing. So
what do you want to say about, like, what's been your journey with discernment?
Okay, so if we look at the episode where just what I guess would have been the last one, I don't know. I think that this one will release like our second one after the sabbatical. I think that's what this one will be. We'd recorded a different one that I thought was going to be the second one, and I think we're just going to trash that episode.
Yeah. Because not everything you do is gold.
Yeah. And what I realized was, well, not realized. I just haven't been happy with the show. And that's one of the things we've talked about all summer long. But I couldn't always clearly say why. And part of it is what we said in the episode about, after the sabbatical, that I want it to be more meaningful. I want it to be more about the Rosary. I want it to be less about us and our personalities. And today I kind of had yet another epiphany of a big reason I think I was starting to get uncomfortable with the show is because we were still trying to do the same kind of shows that we did 10 years ago or even 20 years ago. And we are different people now than we were. And it's not just like our faith has deepened, but it's like, personality-wise. Last night I was telling you a story, or actually yesterday afternoon. So we've been doing this meal prep on Saturdays, and that takes about 3 hours. Hold on, see, you know what's going to happen if you derail me. I'm gonna forget what I was going to say.
But that's kind of like
Okay.
the meal prep. The next time we do it, we need to record ourselves doing it
And
so
just-
that we could show it, put on fast forward.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair.
Knew you'd like it.
If I can remember it. So we've been doing that. It takes about 3 hours. So it's not even meal prep. We're doing ingredient prep. And so we've done it successfully for about, 8 or 9 weeks now. Typically on a Saturday, you and I have to go in the kitchen for 3 hours and we cook up, 6 or 7 trays of vegetables, a bunch of trays of meat, put them in jars, and we eat it throughout the course of the week. And it just makes our lives a little bit easier. But I put on yesterday, like you were taking a shower, and I went ahead and started cooking, and I put on an old album I haven't listened to in a long time. It was from the band Modern English, and they sing the song "Melt with You," which is used on car commercials now. But they changed the lyrics because the lyrics are, it has a line in there about making love to you was never second best or something like that, and then they've changed it to like hanging out with you was never second, so that they could get more money from. They're like, yeah, we'll change our lyrics if you're going to give us $1 million. Anyway, so I was listening to this album of theirs, After the Snow, and it reminded me of a time when I was in college and going to a nightclub and listening to that. And I, went dancing at the nightclub, and you said to me, rightfully so, what happened to the Greg who used to like go to nightclubs and dance, right?
Yeah, I'm just like, Greg dancing.
Because you and I did that when we started dating.
Right, but it was a very brief season of life. But
We even did it when we went on that cruise back in 2011. That might have been the last time.
That might have been the
we went in a
last
club.
time that we've gone.
And it's just
dancing.
something the older I get, the more awkward I feel. I don't feel like I don't feel as a 53-year-old man that's what I want to be doing. I'm not comfortable doing it.
Okay, that's fair.
And it's because I've changed, right? And it's tie that back into the podcast. I feel like I've changed. So what's been frustrating me with it is I'm sitting down and I haven't been able to put it into words like this, but I've been putting on a show, and I don't want to put on a show anymore. But then it's like, if I don't put on a show, then we're not creating the product that people want, but I don't want to create a product. I want to create something that's meaningful. Is me sitting down and just talking like this meaningful? Personally, I don't think it is. But you and I wrestle with this is how you and I talk a lot. Like when the show stops, putting on the show, you and I, we discuss things, on and on and on and on about our family or about Rosary Army or both, And this is how I feel I'm more comfortable with this. And even, I kind of enjoyed putting together like the last episode with all the B-roll and that kind of thing. I find that interesting when it's appropriate. I don't know if I want to do that every time. And so here's what I want. I want the freedom. And this was kind of like in the early days of the podcast, of Rosary Army podcast. I want the freedom to just do whatever I want. Like to not have a set format.
Right. I felt like we were more playful in the past.
Well, because I had the freedom to be me, because no one listened, right? No one. There was hardly the people that did listen. Also, here was the other thing: the people that listened to podcasts in 2005. I kind of had the sense they were weird enough if they were weird enough to be listening to podcasts in 2005, they were weird enough to appreciate us doing weird junk on the show, like doing like little, radio dramas and that kind of thing. But even that I don't want to do now, right? I sometimes it's kind of interesting. And so the other thing that kind of struck me at Mass today was the thing that works against me is it's hard to grow Rosary Army when the commitment feels like what I'm supposed to do is do the podcast every single solitary week and be on, right? I'd rather, okay, if we're gonna have to do a show every week, I'd rather it be something like, well, let's talk. Let's just do these conversations that we're having, and it is what it is, and people could take away what they want from it. Because a big part of it is on the show, I've been wanting, again, I want it to be meaningful. I keep feeling like we need to be teaching. We need to be catechetical. We need to be, in the show that we recorded last week, that we probably won't release unless I stick it at the end of this or something like that. But I started editing it, and I just was like,
no, honestly, there was some good pieces in there, but maybe there's some clips. That might be the most you can get out of it. Yeah. Was you would make a really good point about something that could be isolated and a standalone thing. I thought I made a good point or two with some things I said, but that's all we can get out of it. It's not meant to be the whole show.
So, then I keep thinking about things that we said in the last episode, and when we recorded the last episode, we meant everything that we said, and it's like I feel kind of like, are we already backtracking out, in between just two episodes? And I don't think we are. I think it stands what we said of like we want it to be, more about Jesus, more about the Rosary,
right,
and less us. But I don't know how you do a podcast.
We can't get away from ourselves.
I don't know how you do
Greg.
a podcast without it being somewhat about the hosts.
Yeah.
But what I've realized, I'm not Dr. Scott Hahn, and I don't want to be. I'm not Matt Fradd, and I don't want to be. I'm not Father Mike Schmitz, and I don't want to be. But Greg Willits, as he gets older, is a little bit more boring.
Or just more quiet.
We're more quiet, and I'm personally fine with that. And I think part of what I've been struggling with, and part of why I needed the sabbatical, is because what I'm feeling in my everyday life was not. There was a disunity. I was out of equilibrium, trying to do the show and sit down and be on, and always feeling like we're going to talk about a subject that someone isn't going to want to hear, and then we'll talk about a different subject, and then the person who wanted to hear the other subject, doesn't want to hear this one. And so it's like it was starting to feel like every podcast was a little bit of a losing battle.
You were trying to please someone, but you can't please everyone.
And the person, and it sounds selfish, but the person who I need to be the most comfortable with the show is me. And if I'm not comfortable with it, then I don't want to do it again. And that's kind of where things were going. It's not that I didn't see the good in it. And this is everything that we said. I understand people liked the interviews. The interviews were really, part of it was, again, every year we do a giving campaign, and every year I hope that we'll actually be able to hire some help. But we never raise enough to be able to do that. And that's not, I'm not saying that in any sort of like, hey, you should give. I'm not saying that in a guilt trip. What I'm saying is God has willed it. And I clearly think God has willed it, that we are supposed to wear a lot of hats. And I'm really at the point where I see Rosary Army has been a lot bigger in the past than it is now, but we are still doing a lot, but we don't I think God protects us by not making us too big. I look at some of the other shows that have video editors full time and that are have a crew. I mean, we had to set up all the equipment this afternoon, after church, and it would be great to have someone to be able to do that, whenever we wanted. But so that's a hat that we have to wear.
Yeah.
I have to wear the hat of the newsletter and all that kind of stuff. And what I was hoping that we could start doing is creating content that could be reused and that kind of thing. And I might just have this is another thing at Mass. I have to start letting stuff go. I can't do what I used to be able to do. So what can I do? And what can I do really well? And if you and I communicate really well, I think.
I think so too.
And outside of the show, the kind of communication that we do, people don't see as often. They see
Where
us,
do we have our best communication?
Where?
Yeah.
For real?
Yes. I'm being serious. Like, where do you think we have our best heart to heart? Where we're really just exchanging ideas and thoughts and feelings and.
I mean, I have an idea, but I don't know if I should say it on the show.
Okay, well then maybe you better keep that to yourself. For clearly,
I think that's why I like. That's why I said for real. It's like, do you really want me? I mean,
just in conversation, verbal conversation of just talking to each other.
are you trying to lead me to say the truck?
Or if you think that's one of the places, but I think the walking trail, we've had some really good conversation there. Sometimes it is the truck. Sometimes.
I'll say that
Sometimes it's only the morning after with a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
Like, but it isn't all the time. And I think that's actually
Listen, this morning
important to realize.
This morning getting ready for mass.
Oh.
No.
That was hard for me, but go ahead.
Why?
I always struggle with waking up early.
Oh. I mean, not you were just having difficulty waking up. Yeah. No. This morning, you and I got up. Mm-hmm. And I don't think we said a word to each other for half an hour. And
I kind of noticed that too.
But I walk. So you get up, and I, on Sundays, just because I know it's going to take you longer to get ready, I'll linger in bed. And I got up, and you're already dressed, and I'm walking in to go to the bathroom, and you're standing at the mirror, and I'm just walking past, and I always just, I don't grab you, but I reach out, and
show a sign of affection.
But I didn't say a word. Mm-hmm. And, just came out and washed my hands and washed my face and, we just moved along. And the older we get, I love the quiet rhythm between us sometimes.
And it's just us now.
Yeah, well.
And that's different. We don't have children waiting for us on the other side of the door, wanting a waffle. Or whatever they used to
now they
wake
need to make
us
waffles
up
for us.
But like this morning, it was just you and me here because we are easing our way into empty nester life. We're not there yet
because Lily spent the night
spending the night out, so we were kind of just enjoying a simple start. It was a very simple start to the day, and it didn't need to have a ton of conversation. That's fine. We knew exactly what we needed to accomplish and exactly to the minute that we needed to get it done so that we can get out and be on our way to mass. You made the coffee. I was super grateful for that. So I didn't have to worry about that.
I did that last night, so I didn't even have to worry about that this morning.
We preset the prop. That's how you do that. But why were we talking about our rhythm?
Well, just because things are so much quieter.
Yeah,
when it's just you and I, it's like things are quiet, but it's not an uncomfortable silence. I've always kind of, even when you and I, before we got married, I kind of knew things were going to go well when, we'd be driving around and we could just be in a car and we didn't have to fill it with noise.
Okay, on that point though, that's a little harder for me. I'm glad to hear that you are absolutely content with that and you're not thinking, is she mad at me? But sometimes I think, is he upset? Not necessarily at me.
Well, that's not out of the question.
But sometimes you're brooding over something and wrestling with something quietly. And so it's not that it's a comfortable quiet, but it's a necessary quiet because there's already a dialogue happening and I just can't hear it.
That's true.
You are not wrong.
Okay. You are not wrong.
Okay. So I recognize that we are different in that way. And then there are times when we're really just content and at peace.
Yeah.
And that kind of quiet is actually different. And I like that too.
And so talking about quiet, going back to discernment, a lot of those quiet times by myself and discernment of Rosie and me and what we're doing and where we're going and trying to understand for for the media production in particular, I mean, I have no discernment questions in regards to the ongoing mission of Rosary Army, the make them, pray them, give them away, which we emphasized in the last episode, right? I think that's at the core. That's what it started as. That's what it should always be. If there was ever an EMP that went off and all technology was wiped out and we couldn't record another show ever, we would still focus on making, praying, and giving away the all tri-knotted rosaries and getting them to people, right?
Thank goodness there's an offline version of Rosary Army that exists. It will just be boots on the ground. It'll be local rather than worldwide.
And I think that's really important, right? So, it's difficult because we know for so many people the podcast means so much, and it don't get me wrong, it means a lot to us too, but it doesn't mean as much to me as it used to. I would like, and this is what last week was we had the Feast of the Guardian Angels, and just I think both you and I we keep stumbling upon new things about guardian angels, and I have never had the best relationship with my guardian angel, but I've been trying a lot more every day for the last week or so. Of just like, okay, listen, I really need some help. If you're all that everyone says you are, help me out here. Help me to make some decisions, right? And I've been working through it like that. I'm like, okay, you're with me in boots on the ground, so what are we doing here? What kind of work do we do? And multiple times this week with doing work, I prayed and asked my guardian angel, help me actually get this done. And then suddenly, boom, I was done. I was like, wow. Oh, and then I had to remember, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for helping me with that. But I've been praying, and I prayed again today. I'm like, listen, what I need is, and I changed it to what I need to what we need, you and I. And then it's kind of an aha moment just now. The fact that we had the conversation we did on the way home, I think might go to this prayer might have been answered by my guardian angel of what we need is more fervor. We need to be interested, not necessarily excited, but we need to be. I need to be interested again, in doing this. And I think part of it is because I want things to change to match where I am now. And even just this little bit that we've done, it's like this doesn't seem like much of a show, but I'm more comfortable doing this. I don't want to be on anymore, right? I have a hard time. I can make eye contact with you. I have a hard time looking at the camera,
looking down the barrel of the lens.
And
can I add something? I mean, if you finished your point.
I want to make sure we do talk about discernment. I had the stuff over the summer, and how we decided on things, and then how we got to kind of where we're. I want to talk about some of the ideas that we had, I guess, for the podcast.
Well, sure, and I can tie that in, because part of discerning anything is you actually have to be very observant about what's actually happening so that you can discern it properly. And on the way home,
wait.
I'll explain.
Can you say that again?
That we have to be very observant of what we're doing so that we can discern properly. Like, for instance, when we've been doing the show one way all the time, and why is it so difficult for us? We really didn't consider how looking into the barrel of a camera lens was exhausting us in a way we hadn't considered. And yet, why is it that when we're driving around in a truck or we're walking through a trail, why is that conversation so easy? And then I realized today, it's like, I wonder if it's because we're not actually looking at each other. We're not facing eye to eye. We don't converse that way, but we're actually looking at something else.
Yeah.
What are we looking at? We're looking at the trees. We're looking at what's ahead of us in the world.
Well, and you said just as we're about to start, it's like a lot of times when we're talking, I doodle, I draw.
Yeah. That's something you're looking at.
When I was in high school and college, I always was drawing on the margins of my pages just while I was listening to the teacher. And I feel like, I won't say it helped me concentrate better, because I do think I could have concentrated better if I wasn't drawing, to be 100% honest. If I forced myself to focus on that person, but I think I can go for longer listening when I'm drawing, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? It's
I just have to take that as
I
what
could focus on you for 5 minutes straight, eye contact, listening, but I could have probably a more beneficial conversation for 10 or 15 minutes if I'm drawing, if I'm kind of like...
It's like when you're at the Barrens.
Well, look what you're doing. Well, yeah, when I'm at the Barrens, I like to draw a lot.
Yeah.
But what you're doing right now, right?
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
I'm making a rosary right now, and my eyes are looking at my task,
Yeah.
but my ears are more open.
Yeah.
And I'm hearing you.
I think so.
And I think that there's something natural about that, but that wasn't something that we were really discerning before. We hadn't even noticed that detail until today.
Well, then we go walk. What are we doing? We're walking, and that helps. So we're distracting ourselves with the walking, and then we talk, or we're driving around, and then so there's something. I have no idea of.
There's something organic about it, a natural way of being present to something. And
I think that's what I lost a lot of that because radio show taught me to create everything in 20-minute segments, and did that for so many years that even when we came back to podcasting, so that's been 12 years now, we've been just doing that, which is just crazy.
It is.
That the radio show ended 12 years ago this month. And so we've been doing, so 12 years ago this month, we relaunched our podcast. And I just, this summer, we took that time off, and I did so much. I tried so many different things over these last few months. And I kept going, maybe this will work. And I try it. I didn't like it. Maybe this will work. And I tried it. I didn't like it. Maybe this will work. I tried it. Didn't like it. So many prayers and rosaries. I mean, I don't know how many miles I've walked praying rosaries this summer.
All trying to answer the same
just what are we
question.
supposed to do? What are we supposed to do? What do you want us to do now at this new stage in our life? And how do we keep going forward with this incredible blessing of Rosary Army that you've given us, God? And today it was just sort of like, it's like I've been afraid to be myself. And heck, we can get, I don't want to get into therapy, but I mean, that's a big part of therapy, right? It's like how, love your neighbors as you love yourself. Well, I've said this. My whole life I've struggled with loving myself, so I don't love other people very well. So how do I learn to love myself when I feel like I'm putting on a show? And so it's the artificial me. I'm finally getting to a point where I'm appreciating myself. I mean, it's taken years of therapy, but I'm getting to a point where I'm starting to appreciate what I have to offer. But I wasn't offering that. Or I felt like I wasn't allowed to offer it. It's like, no, dance, monkey dance, put on the show. And I know people weren't saying that, but that's how felt. Well, and that's what I was putting on myself, right? It's like, it's just, this is what we've been doing for so long. That's what it felt like. So, now I sit here and I go, and I said this driving home, it's like, sometimes when you and I are talking, I'll just go silent and I won't say anything. And I'm like, am I allowed to do that on a podcast? Isn't that weird? Does someone want to just watch me have a blank face? That doesn't seem like a very interesting thing.
Let's try it.
Or
just go blank, Greg, right now.
Do I worry about? Well, you can't really see it on the cameras, but it's like, do you worry about the junk on the floor, the wires behind Jennifer right now, and like I just. I keep trying to make this studio be a perfect thing, and everything. Every time we do a show, it's like I don't want to have cameras and in the screen or whatever. I'm like, why are we doing this? We're doing it because we want God to be glorified. We're doing it because God's given us this dang mission that's so hard to do. But we see the meaning of it, and we got to do it. But I got to be allowed to do it the way that I'm able to do it, which is changed. That's going back to what we said at the beginning, which has changed, right? And it's so important, I think, for us to realize that as years pass, you do change. And you should change as a Christian. You should be becoming more perfect.
Right.
The closer you're getting to death, the more perfect you should be. How do you become more perfect? By becoming less of yourself and more like Christ. Now, does that mean, did Jesus pretend to be something other than he is so that other people felt good? No, he became more of himself even if it was more uncomfortable for other people.
Yeah, that's true.
So for the next
God-
5 minutes, I'm just going to sit here and stare at the camera.
Embrace your introverted nature.
This is the real Greg.
Oh, man.
So
And that's all right, though. And I think that's part of being vulnerable is being real, being authentic, and not being afraid of consequences, rejection. I mean, wasn't Christ rejected, persecuted? And in that way, we can be more like him if we are persecuted.
I get so caught up on format of the show, right? Well, what about theme song? What about little, cuts? And I don't know. If I feel like doing it, I'll do it. In some episodes, maybe I'll have a theme song, and some I won't. I just thought just now, my favorite YouTuber is this dude who lives in a van, Foresty Forest. Love those videos. He basically goes every one of his videos. He'll go climb something. He'll cook something. What do I say?
Climb and cook.
Climb, cook, and then there's a third thing he always does. Climb, cook.
Drive. Well, he doesn't drive around that much, but
I don't know. He lives in a van with his dog.
yeah.
And he lives in Canada, and he goes to amazing places.
And he hikes really tall mountains.
He goes up, he'll climb a mountain, he'll cook something, and just it's the lowest key thing in the world. I don't know why I brought him up.
Well, he's also very silent. He has a format that I guess you like, because sometimes he's just showing you something interesting, and that maybe it strikes that ASMR sometimes where it's just the sounds of the objects he's manipulating, and that's the only thing you hear are those things. And it's the ordinary life. It's the day-to-day
He does not live a glamorous life at all.
And I think we all relate to that, because no matter what Facebook would have the world see of yourself or YouTube, that's not the real life. We don't really live that way 24/7. We are very quiet. We always have a little bit of mess, in our house. Like, I was just realizing the other day, like I love to follow a lot of rules, but not across the board about everything. Like, I am perfectly okay letting there be a few dirty dishes in the sink for a long time. I'm perfectly okay with not staying up on cleaning the floors.
No.
I'm perfectly okay.
No,
with the bathroom counter having a few stains on. It's like, I'll get to it eventually. I will.
You know what?
But it drives you crazy.
Well, I did an experiment. I shouldn't tell you this. Well, no, I'm going to tell you this. I did an experiment a couple weeks ago.
Did it involve hydrogen peroxide?
No. I did a massive cleanup of our counter in our bathroom.
I think I
in our mirror,
noticed
and
that.
like your sink in particular, I like really sanitized, and it's like.
Thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
I know. I appreciate it.
Well, I know because I've told you now, but what I've noticed is like a lot of times when you're at school and like I'll do little cleanup chores. Floors are. I'm really disgusted by floors. So
as well you should be.
Well, I mean, I'm yeah.
But
anyway,
that's just how we are right now. And
how did that come up? See, this is another thing.
But this is what people do. This is how
in
they
real life,
talk.
we are like
we bounce around.
Yeah, we're constantly bouncing.
It's like how we surf the internet.
Over the summer, here's some of the ideas. Here's some close calls for the podcast. At one point, I was convinced what we were supposed to do, because it's really hard to get traction and visibility on older shows. And so we've had the same feed for a long time. And so it's buried in Apple Podcasts, which is why it helps if people go leave reviews and but no, literally it's been well over a year, maybe a couple of years since there was a new review left on our podcast, because it's buried. No it's very difficult for discoverability for people to find our show. And so I worry about that all the time.
I wish you wouldn't. I wish you could be free of that.
Well, because my concern is like we'll lose more listeners than we gain, and over time, and then pretty much after a while we're just going to be making a show for Mac Barron, and why bother doing that?
He's not our only listener.
Well, I said over time it would get to that. But when I had this idea that's like we let's just stop this show Let's cancel catechism class. Cancel this. Start an all new Rosary Army podcast on an all new feed. That's what my thought was, and that might help get some new and noteworthy traction, which happens when you launch a new podcast. Might, and so that was one of the first things I thought. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. We'll do that. We'll just start that show over again. Won't do catechism class anymore. I give up. Just got to let it go. What we're dealing with the Barons, we've been hoping that we'd come back to that for 4 years. Just got to let it go. Just what can I get done? That was my thinking. And I did a bunch of discernment about that, and I prayed. I did several different forms of discernment to make sure I wasn't making the wrong decision, because it made me think a lot about with new evangelizers. I thought that was a great idea. I still think it was a good idea, but it just didn't work. I wish I had discerned it more. I wish I had prayed about it more. I wish I had given the discernment more time. And that's a big thing this summer with the podcast, was I gave it a lot of time. And I still worried that we're not giving it enough time. We're doing shows now, but I'm allowing it to change if it's going to change. This show is already massively different than last week's show. The way I discerned was, and this is part of what we recorded, the story of Gideon in Judges. The nutshell version of it is God called Gideon to lead the Israelites into battle. And he said, I don't know if I'm supposed to do this. So I'm going to throw out a fleece, like a woolen fleece. I'm going to put it outside my tent. And if in the morning, if the fleece is wet, but the ground is dry, I'll note your will. And that's what happened. He goes, okay.
It's not the will.
Well,
Remember
okay.
this, but this is I think a really important point to bring up in the story.
Yeah, but it takes longer to explain when you try to clarify it.
The will is God told Gideon exactly what he wanted him to do. Gideon didn't have the courage to do it.
Yeah.
And he was like,
okay,
he
sure.
was afraid he was going to die and be killed. And how is this going to work out for me? So it's like, do you promise me that you got me? I will. It's very clear what the doing is supposed to be, but what I don't know is, are you with me? Am I going to be protected? And so it was like, will you fulfill your end of the deal like you said you would? That was the fleece it was to clarify that his word was true. And God obviously gave him the sign that, yes, you can believe me when I tell you something, it's going to happen.
So,
that's what happened.
but the concept, the similar thing, right? Now, I mean, God didn't tell me what I was supposed to do with the podcast, so I'm seeking.
So now you're seeking will. You're trying to seek direction.
I just want to make sure I'm not leading things here. And that was what this was the idea I had. I've had ideas in the past, and the stories that one story I shared. I don't want to say it again, but I think about when we went to Colorado and we went to Indiana. I prayed, but I don't think my discernment was correct. One of the things I prayed a little bit in reverse. Dear God, if we're not supposed to do this, please don't let them offer me the job. But they offered me the job, so I said, well, there it is. There's the answer to the prayer. I'm supposed to take the job and go forward, even if I had concerns. In the Indiana job in particular, I had concerns. I mean, to the point that when I showed up for my first interview, I've shared this story. I had worked a full day. I flew, I had a couple connecting flights, flew from Colorado to Indiana, middle of the night, getting out of my rental car, walking across the parking lot. I just started crying. I'm like, God, why am I here? I'm not supposed to be here. This is not right. This is not what I'm supposed to be doing. Yet I took that job. And it ended up being an abysmal failure. And I just look back at that moment and go, was God screaming at me? But I so desperately wanted to get out of the situation in Denver that I was willing to do whatever I had to do, right? That was one good thing that I said on the podcast the other day about I was looking for a solution, and so I accepted any solution.
So then it became
the solution.
Right.
And that's not a good way of doing things, right?
Yeah.
And so with the podcast over the summer, I was looking for any solution. I want to make sure that I don't take a solution and make it be the solution, right? So canceling all of our shows and starting over again, So I prayed and prayed, and I gave God ample time to I threw out some fleeces. I say, if God, okay, if one of these things will happen today, I'm going to take that. And we can have a discussion about signs. I feel weird about asking God for signs too. But in this case, it's like when I just don't know what to do. I don't know how to make the decision. I don't know what's the right way. I said, I don't know if I want to talk about
or lead me, guide me.
Yeah.
We don't have to say anything that's
well,
going to make you feel
I think about the
uncomfortable.
very specific. What I'm struggling with is, one of the big fleeces was I had been invited to send my novel to a publisher, and they took 3 months evaluating it. And I sent the whole thing, printed out 800 plus pages, and it was taking a long time to get a response. And I started to say, if I get a response, whether they reject it or not, today I'm praying about this very specific thing. If that happens, then I'll know that I'm supposed to not do that. Whatever the thing with the podcast, whatever decision I made that day. And the book ended up getting rejected. And I was like, well, okay, then that to me was a really clear indicator that I wasn't supposed to do that, canceling all of our shows and starting over from scratch and that kind of thing. But then I went back to ground zero going, well, now I need another solution. I had a solution, but I discerned it out that it wasn't the solution. And so now even, recording this is a solution, recording the show in this way. I don't know if it's the solution, but time will tell. How will time tell? Is it the way that people respond? I don't know. How would I know what responses I'm looking for to know if it's right or not? If it suddenly got 10,000 new views, I'm like, oh yeah, obviously we just figured something out. That's not going to happen. So oh hey, 5 more people left a review on the show. Is that enough? Those things are so minimal that it's really hard to know when you're doing something on a day-to-day basis like this, how to know you're on the right path. Unless you just trust your feelings,
which
isn't
can be
always
very-
good.
No. And
But I feel better about this though. That's kind of the weird thing.
you feel
right?
better about what?
How we're recording this one right now, I'm like, I kind of feel like if no one watches or listens, whatever, because I don't feel like I'm putting on a show right now. And that feels really good.
And maybe that's what we change. And we let this
But it's the
marinate
feeling
for a while.
It's the feeling I have that I feel okay doing this. Like I don't feel like I'm putting on an act. And that feels more right than all the other ideas I had over the past 4 months for the show.
I think,
Does that make sense?
well, sure.
I mean, does it? I mean, do you understand? I mean, do you agree with that, I guess?
Restate it again in a new way.
What we're doing right now, Sunday afternoon, recording the show in this way, even though it was a big pain to set up all the equipment, feels more correct than like what we recorded the other day, or even the show that we released prior to this one,
I agree.
and more so than like the interview shows and it's just, it is a thing. I don't want to try to make the show be a world-changing endeavor anymore, because I think that's what I've been trying to do for the last 20 years.
Okay, that's great then.
I've been trying to make content that's going to change the world,
Yeah.
and I don't think it will. I
Well,
think we're going to change
because-
some people.
Right. And I think that we just got to remember God will take care of those heavy lifting parts. We just have to be faithful to him.
The only
in
thing,
all things.
the only difficulty I have is it does feel like it's about us again, but then I just have to hope that someone sees themselves in the conversation.
Well, yeah. And I mean, to be fair, we have been doing this for a very long time, and we have a lot of habits that we're not going to just flip a switch one day because we're sitting in a different chair and all of a sudden we're just different people.
Flip switch right here.
No, don't.
There.
What I'm saying is let us ease in to this new format. And there are going to be times when I think really good productive conversation comes out. I think what's going to be different for us is we have a tendency to wrestle with things more authentically when we're not in the studio. And we haven't had a whole lot of productive wrestling of content, you and I just talking, conversation with the camera rolling. And we're trying to figure out how can we capture the good stuff?
Because that's more interesting.
Because that's more interesting. But then we think, well, but can we even be that real if a camera is even on? I mean, how? And that...
how much do we involve people in mom and dad's conversation?
Right. And at some point, we just have to have our privacy. We have to have the cameras off so that we can just be ourselves fully 100%. Now, this is more real right here than maybe we are when we're facing the camera and we're trying to be on, with our Sunday best clothing. And I mean, and there's a time for that. Sometimes the content kind of calls for that.
Yeah.
But the reality is this is a little bit more behind the scenes ish.
Well, I think
that's good.
It helps. I mean, while there is a camera staring, at each of us, because we are kind of facing each other, it has more of the, just audio podcast feel versus the video, even though it's going to be a video.
True.
I don't know. The other idea is that, I mean, literally as of yesterday, here's what we were going to do. We had said we're going to do 2 shows a month of substantial content where meaning we do prep, almost treat it like a presentation or a talk. That's what we attempted to record last week that we just didn't feel good about. 2 of those. Then a third show, we're going to start diving back into Rosary Army's archive. Since we're coming up on the 20th anniversary, March 2025 will be 20 years we've been podcasting. So we had the idea of what if we did reaction videos where we went back and found early episodes of Rosary Army and we listened to them, some that we haven't listened to in 20 years, and just kind of react to it. We thought that would be kind of an interesting experiment. But I'll be honest, I might go, that was
That's
okay.
your reaction.
I mean, I don't want to be,
You want to fake a reaction for the sake of how we'll look on a video.
There's a lot. The reaction videos are a big thing on YouTube. And people go listen to music for the first time. And the people are always so into it. And they're just, I'm like, and I just watch it. I'm going, I don't
believe you.
There's nothing that gets me as excited as that Phil Collins song from 1985 is apparently making you right now. And so I don't want to do that. But I kind of like that idea. And then the other idea we had was on the 4th show of the month that we would go do a walking rosary somewhere. And
that might still happen, but that's tougher to produce.
Well, it's
without looking look at me, I'm filming outside.
Yeah. So we had a selfie stick hooked up and we just walked around in the house. And I went, if we went to the park right now, I would just feel like an idiot.
And I don't think the Blessed Mother would ever do that. Can you imagine her walking with a selfie stick anywhere?
See, no. I did it. I did one though in January. I think the difference was that I just filmed what I was seeing.
Yeah, you can be more discreet.
So I was very discreet in that I was holding the selfie stick. But it's
you can't be discreet with that.
So again,
5-foot long selfie stick.
Going back to what feels right is I didn't feel good about any of those things. Just like I wasn't feeling good about the shows that we were producing, even though they might have been enjoyable or there might have been, you might have enjoyed it. I was walking away feeling like I was unfulfilled. Like I wasn't enjoying the process. So, part of it was what we're doing today. We'll see. Maybe we'll never do this again, but this has been easier to talk to you this way. We've had the rough idea of talking about discernment. I don't know, I beat my head so against the wall so much every week about what do we talk about? What do we talk about? What do we talk about? And I try to develop it and I try to research it. And, after our last few attempts of trying to co-present a topic, I just don't know if we can do it anymore. That I think that we just need to sit down and see what comes out. And that makes me nervous on one thing. But the other thing I said today, I think that while this is a big change, I think twice a month is all I can really do.
Right, because it's more than just sitting there and talking. It's a whole other bag of editing, setup,
that's not
right?
even-
That's what you mean? Like,
no,
it's the whole.
it's just, I think just to be able to sit down and be authentic.
Oh, okay. You need time to pass to
I just need
get your
time-
spoons gathered, and then you've
Yeah.
got something to say. And we need time to live a life.
because I'm not the same person I was 20 years ago, and because I have other responsibilities with Rotary Army we're trying to do other stuff.
Like for School of Mary.
Yeah. And I can't keep pouring out of the same size vessel and think I'm going to get more. I'm running out. And so I think this is a realistic thing that if like it's a happy medium, right? We're still doing a show that people want. And I would rather do a show that doesn't deplete me, but maybe actually even energizes me. And that's something that I haven't had in a long time. And I think that's, quite honestly, now I'm thinking about that too. That's part of it. Over the summer, I've just been like, how do I find enjoyment in it again? Right? I mean, you do that in relationships. How do I find enjoyment in this relationship again? How do I find with jobs? How do I find enjoyment in this job? You don't always discard the relationship or discard the job. You need to have a different mindset, or you need to have a different approach to how you're going to do things. And the thing that you've had all along, the podcast of 20 years, you can find enjoyment in it again. And if you just, came at it from a different approach.
I'm still kind of hearing that question. How do you have enjoyment again with something that has been with you for so long?
Well,
or not that it's fun that you're seeking, but
okay,
a
so look at
sense
it
of
this way.
contentment and peace over it.
So if I had to, this is going to be a terrible example, but I hear a lawnmower. So if I had to mow the grass, all right, here's your lawnmower, go mow the grass. Okay, I'm going to go mow the grass. I'm mowing the grass, okay? And then a year from now, you say, all right, now I want you to go mow the grass, but as you mow it, I need you to put on this headset and wear this headset as you're mowing the grass. Okay. And then the next year you say, all right, I want you to keep wearing the headset, but now I'm going to clip on this microphone onto you. And so now you have headset, microphone, mow the grass. Okay. On and on and on. 10 years from now I'm going to have an introduction. Hey folks, what's going on? It's time to mow the grass. We're going to go mow the grass right now. Don't forget to like, subscribe me mowing the grass. And I'm wearing a headset. I got a clip-on microphone. I'm wearing gloves. I have a sponsored T-shirt on.
Greg mows the grass.
And suddenly, what just was a simple chore,
Just got harder.
mow the grass, just became stupidly complicated. And to top it off, I'm older, which makes it harder to juggle all those things. And I just want to mow the grass. I just want to talk about the road. I just want to talk about Jesus. I just want it. But I know that, yeah. So I feel a lot better about this, even though I can't imagine. I can't imagine this would meet the goals that I've had for the last several years.
Well,
But this is what I feel like we're supposed to do. So
let's just give this a shot. And I was really excited about this, and maybe it's not me, maybe it's both of us. I thought one of the new things I wanted to do is make a rosary while.
yeah, I'm not ready for what you're going to say, but go ahead. I know what you're going to say.
But as long as one of us is making a rosary, that's all I care.
No. But then you wanted to give it away to who?
Yes.
Someone, and I'm not anywhere prepared for us to have a raffle or anything like that.
Right.
I like that idea.
We just don't know how to distribute it.
No, do like have people sign up or whatever. Hey, okay, you can do this. Leave a comment, and out of everyone who leaves a comment, we'll do a random drawing for those. But then I don't even know how I'll do that. See, because it's like, what if 1,000 people sign up?
No,
I don't know how to get all
about
those names.
this? The first email I get,
No,
and then
honey,
I'll have it
I
as-
told you no, because you're going to get 100 emails.
yeah, I don't
You
want
don't want that. You're going to
Never
get 100
mind.
emails
Don't you
from
dare
people,
email
and,
me.
and then you're going to have to tell 99 people you weren't the first. Don't do that.
No, I'll just delete the emails.
Leave a comment, and we're just going to choose someone from the comments. How's that? Leave a comment on the YouTube. For this
We'll
video.
pick a number between 1 and 100, and then whoever that person is.
Okay, yeah.
We'll just get it.
I like that. We'll look at the number. That's a good idea. We'll look at the number of comments there are.
Whatever.
And then you can go online and do a random number generator.
Yeah.
And then you'll send that rosary that you're making on this episode to
You
that
will be
person.
contacted for a shipping address, and whatever rosary was made, by me or by Greg during the particular show, hopefully, if you want it,
If I draw a picture, maybe in the future,
we'll get it into your hands.
You can get the picture I draw.
Yeah, because it's like that's part of what Rosary Army is: make them, pray them, give them away.
Pictures
we pray.
have nothing to do with that.
What now?
My pictures have
No,
nothing
but
to do
I'm just saying I'm on to this. I haven't moved on to your segue of drawing pictures. I don't know what that is, but
Though I drew a picture of a guy praying. Isn't that fascinating?
that's actually pretty nice. Is it somebody that you saw, or is it
Yeah.
you?
Yeah, we were at church. I don't know why. I felt like it was at a different time. A guy came in, and kneeled like that for a while, and then left. I can't remember why we were up there. This is that's been me during sabbatical right there.
That is very accurate. With the furrowed brow, no smile, very little smiling, constant thinking and brooding.
So yeah, go leave the comment for a rosary. We'll raffle that off.
Okay,
at some point.
and if you can say the wine-colored rosary, that way I'll know which one you're talking about. Because I'm going to put this someplace, and I don't want to forget.
Well, it have to be with this particular video.
Okay.
You don't have to say wine-colored rosary.
All right,
They know which one
whatever.
you're making on this video.
All right, I'll just have to keep it someplace. And I need to ID this somehow so that
when we do the raffle for this one,
okay, we'll figure it out. Because I don't even know when it's going to be released. I'm saying by the time that moment occurs, it might be some time between this very moment and that moment. And I don't want to lose track of this. Okay, but it was super nice making it. I'm sure you could have made 5 in the time. I'm not even done. I
thought.
No.
Here's what I just heard.
I've only
it was
done
super nice making out. That's what I heard. And then you stopped. You meant
super
making
nice making rosaries.
Oh, making rosaries.
1, 2, 3, 4. One more decade.
So you had much better posture in this episode. That's one thing I need to work on for the next one.
It's the couch. That couch is not designed to
I expected to have a
make
cat
you look.
on my lap, but I was abandoned by
You could have
other felines.
left the door open for them. They would have come in.
Thanks for hanging out with us. Feedback at rosaryarmy.com if you want to send us a message or not.
Send us a message.
Make them.
I don't have enough string here.
Yeah, you do.
I was gonna make a whole other decade. There ain't no room. Nope.
Make them.
Pray them, please.
And give them away.
God bless. I forgot to tell you. Catherine told me this.
Okay, what?